Dozens of Cat Lake First Nation evacuees who've been in Thunder Bay for more than 3 weeks are heading back to the remote community. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The evacuees can finally go home, a month after a fire leveled the community's only nursing station.
The remote First Nation evacuated roughly 80 people to the city so they could access vital health care. Lee Noonan spoke with some of the evacuees today. And Lee, how are they feeling?
Ryan, the Cat Lake evacuees say they're grateful for the support they received here in Thunder Bay, but after 25 days of living in a hotel, they can't wait to be back in their own beds.
More than 80 people were evacuated from Cat Lake First Nation after a fire decimated the Margaret Gray nursing station on the night of March 2nd. The community's most vulnerable members and their caregivers, including Deputy Chief Abigail Wesley and her 91-year-old mother, were sent to Thunder Bay, where they would have access to the health care services they need.
We had a few kids that had pneumonia, and they were treated here, which was very good. Everything was taken care of, even our laundry, our food, everything. It was all right. It was everything. I really appreciate the help we got.
It could be years before the community has a permanent nursing station again, but for now, the makeshift facilities are good enough that most of the evacuees can return to Cat Lake. Wesley says they've been well taken care of in the city, but they're excited to finally get back home.
Everybody's glad to get home, I guess, get to their own space, not being in the room most of the day.
I'm kind of happy that I get to go home and see my Sumish and stuff.
Yeah, do you have brothers and sisters or cousins you're missing back home?
Yeah.
Yeah, what about school? Are you missing school?
Not really.
Work site, we want to go home, and yeah.
What are you missing most right now about home?
Fishing, ice fishing.
Evacuation support here in the city was coordinated by Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. Kevin Anderson with the incident management team says it's a full-time operation to manage an evacuation, but that they're happy to help.
Really nice community, very appreciative, and so we have set up different activities for them. There's children as well, right through to elders, so different things to keep them busy, and all the health supports. That was the reason that they had to come down, because of the nursing station, so it all went well. They got the supports they needed, and now they can go back home.
With flood and forest fire season coming up, Anderson says the fire department is prepared to step up and support any other communities that may be evacuated here in the coming months. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police have confirmed the man involved in a serious collision on the Harbour Expressway yesterday was driving himself to the hospital. The 31-year-old was facing a medical emergency while driving, but police haven't revealed any additional information. The man is currently in the ICU, and there's no word on the extent of his injuries. The single vehicle crash happened at the Gulf Links Road intersection just after 11 o'clock yesterday morning, leading to a lengthy closure.
OPP are investigating a 5-vehicle collision involving 2 transports on Highway 11. It happened early this morning just west of Long Lac. Police say 1 transport jackknifed. 1 person suffered minor injuries in the incident, which closed the highway overnight. The OPP charged 1 driver, but no other details are available at this time.
The annual Sunshine List has been revealed, showing the names and salaries of all public sector workers in Ontario who earned $100,000 or more last year.
The list features about 3,000 employees here in Thunder Bay, including educators, healthcare workers, and municipal staff. Jonathan Wilson has the rundown.
Thunder Bay Regional Hospital had more than 770 employees on the Sunshine List, led by CEO Rhonda Crocker-Ellicott, who made $445,000 last year, which was 18% more than she made in 2022. That was also the highest public sector salary in the city. Among the other top healthcare earners was Dr. John Haggerty, the Director of Senior Medical Addictions and Mental Health at St. Joseph's Care Group, at $403,000. Psychiatrist Dr. Robert Shepard made $389,000 at the Regional Hospital. Medical Officer of Health Dr. Janet DeMille was at $326,000 last year. And Kelly O'Brien, who resigned as CEO of St. Joe's in September, still made $280,000. The City of Thunder Bay had 640 employees on the Sunshine List in 2023, led by Dan Tanio, the now retired acting police chief, who earned $376,000. City Manager Norm Gale, who is retiring in June, made $269,000 last year. Deputy Police Chief Ryan Hughes made $236,000. Newly hired Police Chief Darcy Fleury, who took on the role last spring, earned $197,000, and Fire Chief Greg Hankio, who just retired in January, made $189,000 last year. Turning now to the education field, Lakehead University had nearly 400 staffers on the Sunshine List, led by former President Moira McPherson, who made $355,000. New LU President Gillian Siddle took over last summer and made $180,000. Confederation College President Kathleen Lynch, who is retiring in September, made $254,000 last year. Lakehead Public Schools Director of Education Sherry Lynn Farrand made just under $250,000, while her counterpart at the Catholic Board, Pino Tassoni, made $246,000. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
The federal Liberals have announced a national school food program. Local MP Patty Hajdu highlighted her government's proposed investments today.
It comes ahead of the 2024 budget, which will be released later this month. It's still unclear how much of the funding will come to this region. Nev Van Pelt reports.
Canada's the only G7 country without a school food program that's universal and equitable across provinces and territories. But a proposed $1 billion federal investment is looking to change that. The Liberals' 2024 budget commits dollars for a national school food program for kids to have access to healthy and nutritious food at school, no matter where they are from. Thunder Bay Superior North MP Patty Hajdu touched on the importance of her government's announcement for both kids and families.
We know that healthy, nutritious food is important for growth. It's important for kids to have that dignity and that sense of inclusion as well at the lunchroom. And it is really a way for, I think, kids to connect to school more firmly. So I think it's a really exciting announcement for families and a really important announcement for kids.
This investment would double the amount of funding that is currently being invested in school food programs, and it's estimated that it will increase access to school meals by up to 400,000 additional students. Cooking about 50 hot meals a day to support kids in the community, Executive Director of Evergreen, Linda Bruins, which supports local youth, was thrilled to hear this announcement.
It's just amazing because there should be no shame. You should have dignity for food access, especially children. Children have the least say in how they're raised and how they get food. So let's just feed them directly, and it's the right thing to do. So I'm so pleased that this announcement was made. Feeding kids is something I do, and no child should be hungry.
For this program to be put into place, the 2024 budget will need to be approved. There's no confirmation on how much of the billion-dollar investment will go towards local schools, but Hajdu says it will be worked out with the province of Ontario and school boards so that the program can reach its goal of being universal and providing dignity to families.
So many of the programs that are available for food require somebody putting their hand up and saying, I can't afford food, I don't have food at home. All of that can actually deter a child from asking for help or can make a child experience profound shame for having the need for food.
Hajdu also said that with the cost of food often being a barrier for many families, they are working on making food more available in northern communities. Nev Van Pelt, TBT News.
And we'll have more on today's food program and announcement from the Prime Minister later in the news hour. Sweeping changes to Ontario's policing laws took effect today. The Community Safety and Policing Act has 263 sections, 100 more than the 34-year-old law that it replaced. One of the changes gives police chiefs the power to suspend officers without pay in some circumstances. Under the old Police Services Act, officers could only be suspended without pay if they were both convicted of an offense and sentenced to prison.
A report from Ontario's top doctor has made some recommendations regarding tobacco control.
The measures are aimed at reducing tobacco use and youth vaping in the province. CTV's Pauline Chan has the story.
There's been a dramatic increase in youth vaping. We've made progress to reduce youth smoking, but now a new generation of kids are becoming hooked on nicotine as a result of e-cigarettes.
The Canadian Cancer Society says that's despite falling smoking rates among adults. And the report, entitled Balancing Act from Dr. Kieran Moore, says the health costs down the line will be high for conditions such as heart disease, cancer, and emphysema. Among the recommendations, raising the minimum age to purchase tobacco and vaping products from 19 to 21, as PEI in 30 U.S. states have already done.
There's a U.S. study that found that increasing the minimum age from 18 to 21 nationwide would reduce youth smoking by 25% among 15 to 17-year-olds and by 15% among 18 to 19-year-olds.
Rob Cunningham says the overwhelming majority of smokers began as underage youth, and surveys have shown the majority of Canadians support raising the age. Dr. Moore also recommends raising taxes to match inflation rates.
Higher tobacco taxes are the most effective strategy to reduce smoking, especially among youth. Youth are more responsive to price increases. Ontario and Quebec have the lowest tax rates in Canada for tobacco. Ontario has not increased its tax rates in 6 years since 2018.
The report also supports banning flavored vaping products, as has already been done in 6 provinces, and banning disposable e-cigarettes. And it recommends limiting tobacco and e-cigarette stores.
This report recommends what some U.S. cities have already done, such as San Francisco and Philadelphia, to no longer have new cigarette stores near an existing store or near a school. And over time, that's going to reduce the number of stores that sell cigarettes.
The Canadian Cancer Society is urging Federal Health Minister Sylvia Jones to act on the report immediately. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The Ontario Autism Coalition wants more transparency from the province when it comes to annual funding. The 2024 budget contained $120 million for the Ontario Autism Program, but the province later clarified that half of that amount was a one-time addition from last year. Coalition President Alina Cameron says any increase is welcome, but they aren't clear how the funds will be spent. The government noted the funding will help enroll 20,000 children and youth in core clinical services. Cameron says that with more than 60,000 children on the wait list, that isn't enough.
Why isn't the commitment to serve all children waiting for the autism program? It's really hard. We have families that talk to us all the time across the province about how difficult things are, how they're worried that their children aren't receiving timely care, and this lack of transparency means they can't plan. When you don't know what the future holds, it's hard to plan financially, it's hard to plan your child's education, it's hard to plan care, especially when care is a scarce resource.
The Ontario Autism Coalition is planning a trip to Queen's Park at the end of the month to get clarification from MPPs. TBT News has reached out to the province for comment, but didn't receive a response.
This winter's mostly dry weather made it a tough season for local ski hills.
But thanks to the recent dump of snow, Mount Baldy officials say they've been able to partially make up for lost time. Jessica Clement has the story.
Local skiers and snowboarders couldn't wait to hit the slopes this weekend, wanting to make the most out of the large snowfall earlier in the week. Mount Baldy saw a large crowd on Sunday, with residents flocking to the hill right when it opened. Co-owner Daniel Cardis says the snow the region has seen over the past week has been amazing for the ski hill and its patrons.
We won't lie, out here we've been waiting for it all season, and it finally came at the end of the season. All I gotta say is thanks up there for all this beautiful snow. End of the season, open Easter. The last couple of days have been amazing out here. People are definitely enjoying the powder. It's one of those things, we haven't had any snow really realistically all season long, and here we go. It's beautiful white behind us, and the conditions can't get any better.
Most of Mount Baldy's runs are open, except a couple on the far side of the mountain. Cardis says this weekend's been a huge change compared to the last few weeks.
Basically, a couple of weeks ago, you've seen tumbleweed going down the road, and now the lineups of the cars and the people are coming and they're enjoying it. But it's amazing what it does. It really sparks everyone. When you look outside your front door and you see green grass, there's no motivation there to come out to come and ski, right? So. Once it snows, boom, everyone's like, hey, let's get out there and enjoy it.
Friday was fantastic. It was the way the ski hill should be all winter. Like tons of kids, tons of families, everybody doing their thing. It was amazing.
Cardis notes that Mount Baldy plans on remaining open for at least a couple more weeks, as long as the snow sticks around.
Usually this time of season, I'm jet setting, jumping on a plane, going somewhere hot or somewhere back to the mountains. But this season I'm sticking around, and I'm going to go for the gusto here and see what happens. We started early. We were making snow, believe it or not, in October 21st and open November 1st. So it's definitely been a long season. It's been a hard one with no snow all season, but this end of the season snow is a blessing for us, and we're just enjoying it.
Updates on Mount Baldy can be found on their social media pages and website. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Well, the weather has kind of been a little bit warmer than what we've been seeing, but especially at night, it's still staying fairly cool. And that's pretty good for Mount Baldy to keep that snow maybe on the ground.
But it is also making things very icy first thing in the morning as you step out. It looks clear, and then you get that fine sheen of ice, and whoops, that's when the legs go out from underneath you. So bear in mind at this time of year, overnight lows are dropping well below the freezing mark. So even though it's melting a lot of places during the day, with an overnight low of -11 and wind chills of -15, which is actually about half a dozen degrees below normal for this time of year, that is making things very icy and a little bit precarious at times first thing in the morning. Today we warmed up to 2 Celsius, so definitely on the plus side. And that's the trend throughout the region. Ironically, up to the northwest into Red Lake, overnight lows were warmer than they were as you headed into Fort Frances and through Dryden, Upsala, Armstrong, Greenstone, and of course along the shores of Lake Superior, where overnight temperatures were in the mid-minus teens. Sault Ste. Marie also milder, no surprise there, -5 was their overnight low. They've had increasing clouds all day, lots of sunshine elsewhere, just a few clouds in Red Lake, but everyone on the plus side. Tonight, we're going to slip back down to the minus double digits with a wind chill of -15, and that's because of just a few clouds. But we are going to see things start to warm up even more. In fact, we could see double digits on the plus side within a few days, at least by the weekend.
All right, let's turn our attention to national news now. The carbon tax increase took effect today. It means about an extra 3 cents a litre at the pumps. We'll have details on that and more when your Monday News Hour continues after the break.
Everything is going to go up. When the price of fuel goes up, everything moves with the price of fuel, so the price of everything is going to increase as well.